see whether this is going to be something like the Renekton early pick. Hasn't seen that much success outside of M1 Gaming.
That's true. I really want the Echo to come back. Although it was like 0-4 on day one, I thought it was a really good pick. I thought it can work.
Why did you think it was good?
Because this jungle clear is amazing. He has really good team fight as well. Too many people were playing him like a new Elise, where you try and dive towers early on. Instead, play around the team fights. Play around the zone control you have with parallel convergence. Doesn't matter, hasn't been picked yet. Rakan is the first lock here for Kaiwing.
Because I was willing to keep an open mind, and I know that you're trying to get me off it now, but you brought it up and it's your fault. I watched it play. I was like, okay, this champion sucks. And then everyone talked to me and I was like, maybe it could be good. And then I watched Tien, one of the junglers I hold in the highest esteem from Fun Plus Phoenix last night, feed his absolute little booty off on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm throwing this champion back in the it sucks category.
Okay, so saying a player played it badly makes it a sucky champion. I will remember that for the future.
Correct.
Xayah locked in for Warangelus Akali as well. Once again, expect that to go to Seiya in the mid lane. Crash will get his Lee Sin, and it looks like we are going to see Unified on the Ezreal once again.
Yeah, and I like the Ezreal pickup. Once again, I think that this is a composition that is very hard to get on top of. So if you have a lead and you're the person in control of the objectives, you're starting first, there's really good turn off both Lee Sin as well as Rakan. They have good pick generation, but then Ezreal can just 1v5 a team fight if there is no backline threat. And I think that Seiya got very far ahead, so created that almost single-handedly in the last game, but you can't rely on that consistently happening.
That's definitely true, but so far we're seeing very much the same draft as we saw in Game 2, and that ended up working out for Isurus Gaming. Yes, the bot lane wasn't the key focus. The Xayah Thresh did well. Slow was hitting all of his hooks, but a lot of it came through that mid-jungle journey.
You say not the key focus, but you do have to remember that one gank that got the flash out of the Ezreal, and that meant you had to play the lane with supreme respect, because if you did not, then there was always going to be the piggyback lantern into, you know, Cocoon, Death Sentence, Charge, whatever else you want to throw on the back end of that. So I think that it is still important to be able to burn summoners down at bottom lane, because this lane, if played aggressively, can have very good pressure.
Definitely can. Isurus going to ban out the Galio. Rek'Sai, the next ban from HKA. Isurus before looked towards Corki as their final ban in Game 2. We'll see if they go down that route once again. Instead, it's going to be the Mordekaiser.
Okay, so Mordekaiser, another one of those weak side top laners that we've seen 3Z play. When I say weak side, it means that you're not going to get all that much jungle attention, right? You're going to be left on an island, you know, survive the ganks as best as possible. If we have time, we'll rotate up there and try and save you from the stacking waves, which is what we saw last game. But ultimately, you're going to be alone. Mordekaiser obviously turns that situation into a 1v1. That's why he's so powerful on the current patch, and I like that that's respected.
It looks like Isurus are going to keep their final pick for the top lane. At the moment, they're hovering over the Olaf. Qiyana is another powerful jungler that we have seen, and Nocturne does a very similar job. Great at diving onto a backline, great at turning fights from a 2v2 into a 3v2.
And kind of ruins Twisted Fate's day. We've seen that right now, m1ssion is very comfortable in the TF versus Akali matchup. Game 1 it went well, Game 2 bit of a disaster, but once again, I think you can write that off as an anomaly. And obviously, Darkness is just going to make that very difficult to play around. However, this time the change-up is there. You mentioned it was banned Game number 1. Corki as a laner is very good into Assassin, surprisingly, because he's got very good upfront burst damage when they dive on top of him, also has great wave clear, and just ultimate safety when he has the package. You really can't take him down.
Really easy itemization as well. You can go towards that Hex Drinker as a first item. You do delay the Trinity Force, but gives you a lot of safety in the lane. Corki is locked in. That will go to m1ssion in mid, and it looks like 3Z is going to play Renekton in the top lane. We'll see where Isurus decide to put their counterpick. In fact, switched it around. Locks in the Gnar in the end.
Okay, so we've seen the Jace into it once already today. It did well in the early game, then got camped out. Nocturne should help that. Not all that much magic damage. I mean, Akali does do magic damage, but she isn't, you know, the big team fighter necessarily, so itemization could be a little bit tricky if they want to over-index into that physical. Rumble has got a fairly good matchup, does get the push very early. That's a little bit different.
That is a little bit different. I think we're both a little bit surprised by that one. Buggax cracking out the Irelia in the top lane. Now, he only played it twice during the regular season, but the most played champ he had was Gnar at 3 picks, so it's not really a champion that he is unused to, but not one of those power pocket picks perhaps we were expecting.
And the thing is, and I would love to get I wish I had a pro player that I could just steal right now, because obviously I have access to the Yoast pros, so I'll just tell you what I know from my experience. And that is that old Irelia had a really great matchup into Gnar and would destroy him.
Yes.
New Irelia, not so much. When you get Phage as well as the Tabbies, you're able to withstand a lot of it. It's going to be double physical damage on the top side of the map, so you're not really all that concerned about having to build something like Mercury Treads. And I think this is a lane that 3Z isn't going to excel in, but can survive. Now, obviously, kills skew everything, and if you are able to get Oddie up there at level 6, we'll see how it's played around. I'm really also interested to see what Buggax takes as his rune of choice, because if he goes press the attack, that means he's probably going to get a lot of jungle attention. Yeah. And if you can just Q recklessly onto Gnar, you can still win the lane matchup.
We'll see if the top side of the map is the focus for Isurus. Hong Kong Attitude going for a very similar composition to what we have seen from them before. Crash on his Lee Sin, safe mid laner for Mission. And then Unify playing a safe bot lane alongside Kaiwing's Rakan. This game obviously doesn't decide the series for anyone, but winning, getting one game up, getting to match point is incredibly impactful for these teams.
It definitely gets you one step closer to winning the series.
It yes, yes.
When you only have to win 3 games, one is 33% of the way there.
Quick maths.
It wasn't actually that quick, I got it wrong.
We're going to jump onto Summoner's Drift here. HKA versus Isurus Gaming, 3rd game of this best of 5. We are now essentially in a best of 3. 2 wins takes it home. And if you lose twice, you are sent packing. Sent swimming back to your destination.
Okay, so this is really interesting from me, because they, once again, grouping up as 5 to try and get control of top side of the map. And this makes me believe that Buggax is very comfortable in the Irelia matchup. Also not grasped with the Undying from 3Z, which I think is just straight up a mistake. Fleet Footwork early game gives you like no health back. I know people think it's a heal, but it's really not. It gives you like 3 HP when you hit those creeps. I think Grasp would have been certainly much more useful. Resolve as a primary as well, and Gnar is actually quite good. So we'll see exactly how it goes. But if they are able to get early pressure here, split the top side of the map, you can see that they actually used Oddie's ward to scout out the starting position of Crash. Then every time Buggax can queue forward, should be able to get a lot of damage out.
HKA have done a good job of at least getting 1 ward in here as it sticks around.
Ooh, second potion.
Gets a second potion from the Kleptomancy.
I hate Klepto. I'm really not... I know I shouldn't probably say that, but RNG elements, like being able to take 2 potions into a lane can just be lane changing. All of a sudden what you thought was a really good lane for Warangelus and Slow, you know, you can trade more aggressively as Unified.
It makes it a lot harder to predict the way a lane matchup will play out. I agree with you there. It's very frustrating to be on the receiving end of it and very enjoyable to be the one who's getting the extra potions.
See, I don't play it. Even on Ezreal, I play Airy. I'm a man of principle.
Okay.
If I don't like something...
I'm a man of winning games.
Ah, okay. We're very different people then.
Definitely are. And the early potion will definitely help out Unified. This ward will spot Oddie as he goes for a full bottom side clear, then up towards the top lane. Nocturne, of course, very good at ganking at level 6. Before then, can do some stuff in a gank, but tends to struggle. Great flawless duet there from Buggax onto 3Z. That press the attack, working out wonders for the Irelia in the top lane.
And it's very strange when you're starting on the bottom side of the map as a jungler to see a non-ranged champion get control of a wave. I feel like 3Z as mini Gnar at level 1 with Boomerang should be able to actually, you know, potentially control the wave a little bit better than that, not get beaten to level 2. So this lane so far going very well for Buggax. Thought it would be survivable and scalable for 3Z, and then once you pick up things like Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver, you know, Ninja Tabby could become difficult, but right now, this looks like a wash.
It really does. The wave's going to push in. A couple of those minions may be lost to the turret. So far, he's doing a pretty good job of catching as many of them as possible. Crash on his blue. Oddie's already cleared his. Now, Crash does have Smite, and Oddie doesn't have one of his own, so although they are looking for a bit of an evade here, Crash will be able to secure it. Now, has just used the Sonic Wave. Here comes Oddie from behind. Crash could look for the jump across the wall. Will land it. The fear won't connect.
Okay, so this is one of the most annoying things as Lee Sin in the early game. Sure, he lives that gank, doesn't have to burn a flash, so it is ultimately very good, but I hate when I have to burn my early ward, especially my second ward, for a skirmish or something like that. That is actually, you know, 1/5 of your team's early vision control before recalls come out of being able to track where Oddie was. So we had a very good understanding from HKA of the fact that Oddie started blue side. We knew the timing of his wolf camp. We now know that he has completed 5 of a 6 camp clear, but there is going to be no river information for this Lee Sin now, so going to have to play heavily around the bottom side. That means that Buggax is just going to continually be able to push and pressure, because you really can't face check Oddie right now if you crash.
And the map is really split top side to bottom side here between the two teams. We talked about Isurus wanting to play top, wanting to get Buggax pushing up in this lane, getting Oddie around that top lane. Bottom side, definitely in favor of HKA. They're actually pushing in relatively well. And with Crash securing the Scuttle Crab, it means they have a lot more river control.
And that top lane wave is now a double stack of minions, so it's going to sit there forever unless it hits the turret. So if Buggax is able to drag here, then that means that 3Z is in a lot of trouble and under a lot of pressure of actually being ganked despite where the Nocturne is. You can see Nocturne, however, really wants an early recall and feels like this early game is just going to allow him an early level 6. So Buggax willing to allow this wave to push back.
Yeah, he kept it just out at the edge of turret range. It's not the best freeze I've ever seen, but it's okay. He will make 3Z lose at least some of these minions as the wave crashes in. But for the moment, still HKA ahead in terms of gold. Double Kleptomancy on them once again. They are 700 gold in the advantage. Both teleports burnt though. Mission and Unified have used theirs to get back into the lane, whereas Seiya is once again running the Ignite, and Warangelus has yet to get back to base.
And the thing about Klepto in the Corki matchup specifically, you know, a lot of people think about Fleet. I think it's a better scaling room, maybe, in the late game, in the team fight. But Klepto, with its use of pots, you know, you can see a couple of the mana potions in there with the control wards and other things you can pick up, actually becomes a really good laning option for Corki in tough matchups. You also get to itemize into Inspiration, which means you get useful things like the biscuits for the laning phase as well. So one of the best defensive runes when coupled with a Resolve secondary for Corki, I think.
And because Mission's been able to push out Seiya in that mid lane so successfully, this is a very free dragon for HKA to take. Yes, not the most impactful one in the world, but because there's no teleport on Seiya, because Warangelus has been pushed back and had to reset, very easy for HKA to get an early advantage in those neutral objectives.
But isn't it just funny when sometimes the world feels against you, Mimic, because... Medic, because in this game, they get the Air Dragon. This is the first game they've really had control of the bottom side of the map. I'm sure they would have loved one of the mountains, one of the Infernals or something like that. However, not going to be the case today. And that is a very early level 6. 6 minutes, he's equal with his solo lanes right now, and he might have found Crash.
He has. Dustbringer comes out, steals away one of the little wolves. Crash having to run away from this. Kaiwing is here to help out, but do they respect the fact that Oddie has Skirmisher Saber and level 6? Oddie decides that he doesn't want any more of the action, backs away. Actually, the highest gold on his team currently on this Nocturne.
Well, the fact that they rotated the Rakan up towards the top side of the map means, yes, they probably are respecting Nocturne quite a lot right now, my good sir. However, this has been more of a slow-paced game. Sure, with Nocturne, the game state is quite warped because it doesn't have a gap close and his early ganks kind of suck. But you can see that Oddie has been very aware and has tried to force the issue on the top side of the map where he does have lane push or priority. Bottom lane, once again, it's kind of just a farm fest, but really well done for Unified. He's allowed Kaiwing to get his roam off, and he's still 10 CS up in the lead, which shows that he's laning very well.
And we saw this happening in the last game as well. It was really slow hitting hooks that started to turn the bot lane back in the favor of Isurus Gaming, but for now, we haven't really seen too many connections happen in the bottom lane, but as you say, we haven't really looked too much down towards that bottom side. Seiya, gonna go in with the Twilight Shroud here. Can't jump forward on that. You've got Valkyrie on mission. He would just get back underneath his tower. And the question now becomes, where is that first Nocturne ultimate going to come? Where are you looking to catch someone out? Because you haven't burnt a flash on Unified. He still has a lot of escape tools. Mid, Corki's very hard to gank as well. Crash actually going to face check in here. Full rotation of spells coming out. Crash going to jump away. The tether not landing. Flash away from Crash in the river.
Yeah, would have loved to get over the wall with that ward hop, but not able to do so. Top lane.
Buggax going in, looking for the kill in the solo 1v1. Buggax on the Irelia just demolishes 3Z.
And that's crazy to me, because normally when you see an Irelia go something like a Sheen, that's when they have real kill potential. This is the lane pushing build, going with an early Tiamat. And this lane is very heavily in favor of Buggax right now. About 20 CS up, as well as a solo kill. Take another look at how this happens. 3Z just playing melee range allows Irelia to stack up the full passive here. Another cheeky auto attack, and just walks into the creep wave. This is utter disrespect from 3Z. And you can see the early flash from Buggax does not want to be caught underneath that turret for any longer than he needs to be, and just outplays the top laner from HKA.
Yeah, Buggax really stepping up at the start of this game. 16 farm ahead. 17 actually, I can't do maths either, Spawn, it seems.
That's alright, mate.
But able to equalize some of that gold gap that HKA was starting to extend. Oddie on the top side of the map now as 3Z doesn't have flash. That is a very easy gank for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the really bad thing is you did this to yourself, right? It's not like a 2v2 went a little bit wrong or it was a slight misplay. This was just very poor understanding of when he can walk into a fully stacked creep wave. Now this lane with Oddie on the top side of the map is in the situation where they can gank, instead they're going to respect it. And the patience of Isurus has been near legendary. They really are not overforcing in this game.
So far, so good for them. Buggax had a good playing stage. It's about average on isolated deaths. That's with deaths where your teammates aren't near you, but top of the group in solo kills at 6, and high damage on him as well. He's one of the players that really carried this team through that group stage. Yeah,
and I think a large portion of the damage stat is, of course, the fact that Seiya did underperform, so you've got to take all stats into consideration. However, the isolated kills, you know, the ability to generate your own pressure is what teams dream about when they think of top laners. If you're able to, in a melee versus ranged matchup, you know, continue to push in this Gnar, get good topside vision, you know, kill him yourself, then it's going to lead to very good things.
I tend to find if I can 1v1 my opponents, the good things happen for my team most of the time. Yet to see Oddie pop that paranoia. As you say, we have seen a lot of patience from Isurus. HKA, though, once again bringing Kaiwing and Crash to team up. Oddie's going to Dustbringer away. Uses a good shield there to not get knocked up by the grand entrance.
And you can see that they knew the flip was coming and they didn't have perfect idea of where Unified was out of base. Obviously, teleport is up and available, so he could have teleported to a tier 2 turret, being a little bit quicker to the play. And that's why you back out of the river and see control. They also have Warangelus rotating up towards that top side. They want to be able to contest this next objective in the Herald spawn, and keeping Buggax around means that if a contest goes there to a fight, they're probably going to win it.
And 3Z has to teleport into this one to make it a 5v5 if they want to go. Here we go. Teleport coming in. 3Z on his way towards Mega Gnar. HKA not going to give this one up without a fight. The quickness was beautiful. And now Isurus on the back foot. But Warangelus and Xayah are stepping forward. The jump away with the perfect execution. Rift Herald is going to reset. It's a 1-for-0 trade in favor of Isurus, but they do not want the fight anymore.
And there is no teleport available, and that's why Buggax had to stick around and couldn't go for the shop. So this is a lot of gold right now on the top laner of Isurus Gaming. The fact that that was a kill going across onto Crash also means you can't take the objective. With your jungler down, it is too hard to secure these neutrals. So the perfect person falls for Isurus Gaming, and HKA unfortunately can't get anything off that play.
Yeah, Isurus able just to reset the sheen, now finished on Buggax. But I thought this was Dunzo Manifesto for Isurus.
Yeah, especially given the fact that majority of players are coming from the same position. But I think that Mission not being with them cost them a lot of damage. That would have been a phosphorus bomb onto 3 and a couple more missiles. So a lot of the damage missing at this stage of the game. Also no bounce there from the Gnar means that he's not able to get a big ultimate. So things certainly going a little bit pear-shaped there for HKA, but well navigated from Isurus Gaming.
HKA have just seen Buggax on the bottom lane. They know also the Cloud Drake was just taken by Oddie, so they will get a Rift Herald. This is being traded for plates in the bottom lane and bot side control from Isurus.
And I don't hate when this happens, because if you feel like you have push in your 2v2, which we just saw that they do, as well as the push in the 1v1, mid lane is the only real area that you can drop Herald right now. So as long as you're willing to use this teleport from Buggax to rotate to the numbers play, you can actually defend quite well. Also, if they don't send anyone bottom lane, whilst this is going to take top lane turret, they're also still trading for a turret on the bottom lane, so they do go for a higher percentage play.
It's a small danger here for Warangelus and Slow if they stay around. The quickness is almost off cooldown, and Warangelus doesn't have the Feather Storm yet. He's got his flash if he wants to get away, but instead they will respect. It's the patience from Isurus. They back away, they say, okay, you can take the plates. Buggax in the bottom lane is doing exactly the same to you, and we will take the extra gold on our Irelia to sacrifice maybe a first tower blood.
And it's going to be all solo gold, right? So this is a very concentrated effort of saying Buggax is our carry, versus the effort of saying, you know what, as a team, we just need to accelerate the pace of the game and get towards team fights and control. So I think that two conflicting styles coming in here. Once again, I think that trading when you're ahead in gold is honestly normally a bad thing, but I don't mind that Isurus are just not, you know, coin flipping or 50-50ing the game around something like the Herald.
Well, you say all the resources going into Buggax. He is 2,500 or 2,300 gold ahead of 3Z right now. 50 farm lead, the extra kill, the plates. He's in a really strong spot. Isurus have about 1,000 gold lead across the board. But Buggax is just so powerful.
And once again, you know, I thought it was a slightly in favor of him matchup. I didn't think this was going to be a hard counter for the Gnar by any stretch of the imagination, but it has been described to me as survivable. But this is not a surviving top laner right now. He's on life support. Like, everything is going disastrously. Mid lane turret now.
Yeah, Oddie has... Oh, Warangelus is not here, so this is really given up for not too much.
And now that's just a bad play, right? You have 2 teleports available. You were there in the right position on the map. You decide not to fight, and you lose your mid lane turret. This turret is so crucial in being able to control the game, and ultimately what is going to come down to a 1-3-1 for Isurus Gaming. As soon as you lose your mid lane turret, if they can push up that mid lane creep wave, which you can do quite safely on something like an Ezreal, then you're just able to get vision wherever you would like. Obviously, this composition of something like a Nocturne is much better at catching teams in that rotation. So could still be an area where Isurus Gaming can look to generate fights, but I feel like that should not be an objective that you see at this stage of the game.
We've yet to really see Oddie make that catch play. Like, we saw the paranoia at the Rift Herald, but since then, haven't seen another one used, haven't seen him teaming up with Buggax in a side lane to really find those catches. And part of that, of course, is HKA have very safe players. They're also playing quite predominantly as a team, teaming up together, and it's hard for Oddie to find a connection, but when he hits level 11, I really want to see him using that ult.
Yeah, also, once again, the kill items have only just came out. You know, you go Tiamat so you can farm very well in a lane. It's not necessarily what you look for the 1v1 kills. However, Trinity Force now completed. Gunblade and Sork boots there for Seiya as well. So as long as Oddie is there to sneeze on the opponent, majority of the damage will be provided from his solo lanes. Also, once again, going to be a Black Cleaver, looks like, for this Nocturne, so prioritizing
it's all right, we can talk
the CDR much heavily. You know, 20% CDR versus 10 on the lethality items.
Also, we did talk about how much physical damage there is from Isurus,
okay.
So having some armor shred, maybe that's part of the decision-making here for Oddie. I know VODS would prefer something like a static shift, something a little bit more aggressive, but the Black Cleaver here is the choice, it seems. Seiya once again off into the side lane. Buggax already pushed up to the tier 2 in this bottom side. Doesn't really have the ward control I would like him to have for him to be this far forward. And
he just threatens 3Z there. He says, you know what? I'm going to throw this one to your right, but I'm going to show you what will happen if you challenge me under this turret again. A very nice man in Buggax.
Yeah, it's the warning shot, right?
Yep.
You got to give him a warning shot before you go all in for the fight. I'm not sure that's what he was doing, Spawn, but I'm
quite certain that wasn't.
And he was being honorable. Now mission underneath the tower here. Slow and Oddie on their way. Slow will look for the flay. Gets it. Lantern gonna pull in the fight here as the Death Sentence comes down, and Isurus find a pick in the side lane. Too easy there, as Mission was unable to get away.
However, a very necessary teleport, because that was inside track, would have been a 3v3 underneath HKA's turret if Buggax didn't use that. So I think, you know, that's a good play. It is very proactive, but with Baron coming up in 4 minutes, could also be a little bit of an overreach for a top lane turret.
And they do manage to take it right now. It's just actually might even push for the tier 2 here, because they know 3Z is down towards the bottom side. His teleport's only just coming off cooldown. Unified is in mid, has TP of his own, but Isurus like very happily will take this trade. They're losing a Cloud Dragon and a tier 1. They're actually defense pings coming out here from HKA on their own inhibitor.
Yeah, and it has to be there. I mean, when you have a look at it, you think about the fact that you've got Nocturne with that Dustbringer going to be able to get additional AD towards pushing down these turrets, a couple of Demolishers there as well. That was a very quick turret take. You nearly feel like they could have continued. However, very good job of ducking into Fog of War from HKA, not showing on the map. That means that you don't know whether they've recalled. As I keep mentioning, you know, a couple of minutes until this Baron is going to be alive. Control of that area is going to become hotly contested. And no teleport available for Isurus means that it could be a mismatched numbers fight if Gnar is able to join first.
We'll see if that's the case. Buggax so powerful at the moment with the Trinity Force and the Tiamat complete. Hextech Gunblade once again on Seiya. His Akali in last game was pretty legendary, and we'll see if he can continue to have that sort of performance this game. Those 2 Kleptomancies helping out a lot. Warangelus gets away from the quickness and the Valkyrie.
And it was actually Mission's, you know, little knock aside of the package that kind of saved his life, kind of toppled him towards that dark passage there. So would have loved it to be the opposite area. Also, the control ward also not quick enough to be able to ward out that lantern. And this is what I expect us to see, because Buggax doesn't have that TP available. I expect him to be able to pressure underneath that turret, but then ultimately have to walk towards his mid lane and try and get control. This tier 1 turret is going to be the next major objective, because if you're able to pick up that, Baron becomes much easier for Isurus to do in a couple of minutes. So we expect them to push in, try and siege this down. At the same time, their top side jungle control is a little bit poor at the moment. You can see a very deep vision line being set up by HKA, and they are getting control of this mid lane wave.
At the moment, Isurus are just, as you say, pushed back a little bit into their own jungle.
Okay, so this is what I mean. Every single time that you're able to do this and walk up to the mid lane wave, as an Ezreal as well as a Rakan, it's just going to allow you to have first move into that top side jungle. Sorry, I thought a Nocturne ultimate was going to come across, but not going to be the case.
Not quite yet. Oddie could go for it. Kaiwing is in the wings, hasn't got the quickness.
Okay, back to the minimap.
Yeah, show us.
So what that means is...
Use the minimap circles this time.
Oh, is that a minimap circle?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. So what I mean by that is that...
You not? Okay, the minimap circles
Mate, I don't know what to tell you.
Wait, you're not chat. The circles aren't working.
Yeah, exactly right. So what I was meant by that is the arrow is also not working. So I'm not going to draw anything at all, apparently.
I think you just shouldn't... Oh, okay.
This is a rough day in the office.
Okay, so let's have a look. So, oh, okay, we're just not going to touch that anymore.
We're not going to touch it. All right, I'm going to describe it with my words. So if you have vision on the red buff, as well as the Raptor Camp and Double Golem, that is your ward line, right? And the ability to be able to push up mid lane also means that you can continue to have that ward line there. It should allow Mission to be able to farm out top side of the map, and could allow HKA to generate picks with their Rakan, who once again has his flash and a quickness available. Stop laughing. Everyone can hear you even though you're holding your cough button.
I'm just imagine Jack backstage being like, yeah, I'm the only one that can use the telestrator properly.
I swear, I did have the same training.
Maybe he's booby-trapped it for you.
It'd be a very Jab thing. No, it wouldn't. Okay.
No, it wouldn't. Okay, so where are we? We're 3-0 at 20 minutes. Isurus have a 1,500 gold lead. Trinity Force complete on Buggax, who is the main carry for this team, but Seiya's in a strong position, Warangelus is on his way to his Infinity Edge. On the other side, though, HKA have scaled up. You've got 2 items on your Ezreal, you've got a Trinity Force and a Hex Drinker complete on Mission. So, in terms of a pure all-out brawl, it doesn't feel like Isurus are that far ahead.
No, Isurus are behind in a brawl, because Buggax can't get there, and he's 3,000 of the gold lead, so if you do some quick maths, they're actually down 1,000 gold on the other carriers, and that's why I keep saying if they can generate a fight over topside jungle that Buggax can't join, it's actually a winning team fight. So every single time Buggax pushes that wave, he can't sit and hit the turret, because he has to be able to float his pressure towards mid lane, because otherwise you're in a situation where, you know, Rakan with summoner spells, Ezreal and Corki so hard to get on top of, could actually be a winning team fight.
Kaiwing's going in, lands the charm onto slow, he flashes away. Unified jumping onto the back of the fight. Buggax trying to do what he can to act as a bouncer. The Lantern will get Oddie to safety. Buggax not here yet. Seiya still in base, doesn't even have the TP, so couldn't join this fight even if he wanted to.
And that is a very good job of Isurus in disengaging. Getting the flash out of Kaiwing is so much more important than Slow's flash at this stage of the game. That was the all-in engage that we were expecting to see. However, it does not result in any kills. Could be some pressure on mid lane turret.
They do have the Demolish on Kaiwing. He'll be able to get one fuck of that off. Slow is on his way, but burned the flash in that last engage. And Isurus, 5 members strong, will try and counter-push out mid here. Buggax has a flank position.
But this is the thing. Unless Buggax can get behind them, then he's not actually...
He's gnarred into the wall. The chase comes in with the grand entrance. There's a Lantern there for him, but he's kicked away. Buggax able to survive. Vanguard's Edge flashes away.
And this is...
True shot barrage, it gets him!
That's sniped! That is such a disaster for Isurus Gaming right now, because I kept mentioning it last game, but the rage advantage, the ability to kite back on this team composition, now that they've got themselves a Corki, it's even more dangerous. And whilst they have this huge side lane advantage, the inability to push in due to that teleport usage has stalled out this game for so long that Corki and Ezreal are just taking over the mid game. If that Infinity Edge comes across on the next shop, I actually think that it's nearly impossible to team fight this composition. And that means that Seiya needs to be able to generate side lane pressure. If he cannot do that, Buggax in the bottom lane is not going to be enough.
Totally agree with you there. You can see Seiya realizing that he needs to be killing Corki, needs to be killing the Ezreal, has got himself a Void Staff. Obviously not the most effective unless your enemies have magic resist, but those Hex Drinkers are giving just that little bit of extra resistance to the HKA carries.
Okay, so this was an attempted flank coming across from Buggax because they wanted to be able to get control of the Infernal Dragon. So you can see the turn is going to be there. But once again, if Buggax lands that at the start of the fight, it's going to be a very impactful ultimate. As we take a look at the True Shot Barrage, that was very well fired.
Yeah, really well fired.
To be able to clean up the kill. But if Unified and Mission are untouched, un-CC at the start of this team fight, then no one on the side of Isurus Gaming can do enough damage as they dive onto the backline. It needs to be a concerted effort. That means that you need to be coming from different angles. A team that I actually really love watching do this well is Clutch Gaming. I think that Demonte is very creative in the way that he is able to get onto different angles.
However, it's about their vision control.
Yeah.
They are so good at keeping control wards in their inventories and making sure that no matter where Demonte's standing, he can't be caught out. Now, Oddie has been caught out, has to flash away. Buggax trying to come in from the top of this, lands the flawless duet, but can't fight it because he's in a 4v1.
And so what they've done, they've said, Buggax, you're really strong. You're still 30 CS up. You go towards the strong side of the map. Maybe if you're there, we can actually contest this. Oddie, you just push in. There's only armor right now on 3Z, so you're going to win the one-on-one. But Oddie has the same problem. If 3Z just decides, you know what, this tier 2 turret, that's not my jam. I'm just going to back off to my base. I'm going to look for a teleport. We're going to look for a play on the top side of the map. That is once again going to be mismatched numbers and impossible to dive onto the two long-range threats in Mission and Unified.
Unified's really been popping off on this Ezreal as well, landing his True Shot Barrage every single time. He's 6-0 across the course of Summer Split and this... Oh, he lost last game, but 6-1 across the course of Summer Split and World Championships on it. So one of his key picks, showing us exactly how good he can be. And now HKA turn back towards the Baron. They've got vision control in the red buff.
And you're getting heavily outscaled this game right now if you're Isurus Gaming. You can see that HKA, they know that. They're just willing to deny camps, deny gold, continue to scale up, continue to build that lead. And this is a stage of the game where you are still strong enough to win your fight. And I think that you need to start getting creative.
Yeah.
You know, how do you get Buggax onto a deep flank and use Oddie's ultimate very early into a fight to maybe isolate a target and run over the top of it? If they can get Crash, if they can get a Baron buff, their 1-3-1 is still going to be incredibly strong in being able to push into these lanes and take down some of the turrets. But because mid lane turret has been standing for so long and Buggax's pressure, whilst floating up, hasn't been enough to secure that objective, it is starting to become very desperate. You know, one more completed item onto this Corki, and he is going to be unstoppable in the team fight.
Pretty difficult for Isurus to do anything about it. HKA, they've been patient. They have waited, they have scaled. Isurus haven't been making proactive plays as much as we would have liked, but HKA have done exactly what they needed to do this game. And
I always say it takes two to tango, right? Yeah. If you walk at a Baron buff and you start hitting Baron, you can nearly guarantee someone's going to come to you, but they have good poke and they have good teals to be able to deal with that. So you have to be a little bit smarter in what your setup is. And if every single time you get control of the area, they just go back, push waves, make it so it hits your tier 2 mid, your tier 2 top, eventually you have to respond to that because otherwise you start losing gold, you start losing experience. Then if they just move in, regain control, hold that control with things like Kaiwing on this Rakan, it is very, very hard to force them to fight you. And I feel like this is a problem that Isurus has actually fallen into. They haven't been able to generate those mid-game skirmishes that things like Irelia or Akali really need to be able to survive.
And things like the Nocturne are usually so good at making happen. Oddie really hasn't found his mark with any of the paranoias we have seen. And I can only remember seeing 2 of them throughout the entire course of the game. Now, the hook doesn't quite land. Crash lands the Q. Warangelus up. Here comes the paranoia. Slow already ticking down. Crash goes gold and gets out, but here is Buggax. Can't get onto the backline in time. Jumps in with one blade surge, but has to jump straight back out. And 3Z is here in time to help the rest of the team. Warangelus pulls back the feathers, but 3Z is on the chase. Seiya jumps away, and HKA just walk out of the fight.
And that could just be the Baron. I mean, they have the health bars to once again go towards that objective and start tanking it. They've pushed them completely out of this area. No teleport now available on Buggax. And the frustration of having to deal with Corki Ezreal. You see, if you do not one-hit them at the start of the fight, they just continue to bring you back, sucker you in, and then their turn is so powerful. HKA have played such a flawless mid-game in this third game.
Oddie has no flash here, so this Baron is just going to go down to HKA. Nothing Isurus can do about it. They will secure it. 27 minutes in, the Baron goes over to HKA. And you have to think those towers will start tumbling shortly after.
And this is a stage of the game where you expect HKA to be very comfortable. They're the late game scaling team. They have the team fighting comp. They have the double marksman carries that once again have all of the mobility and the range in the world to be able to deal with this short range comp from Isurus Gaming. And so much in this late game, it has come down to which AD carry is able to outperform. Now it's going to be Unified on his Ezreal that is so hard to lock down. And I feel like Warangelus is going to have to, like, you know, blow someone up at the start of the fight. He tried it that time around with the Lee Sin to have the late game impact that he needs.
Isurus Gaming have fought in the longest game of Worlds so far this year, the 65-minute epic against Detonation Focus Me. They were pushed back many times in that matchup, but the scaling was pretty even across both teams. Here, the scaling advantage has to go to HKA, has to be their strength, especially when you get towards poking and sieging with this Baron buff.
And every single time I say this, people get tilted because they're like, what about rapid fire cannon? Well, they're not buying it on Irelia, Nocturne, or Akali, mate.
That is true.
You can't buy range. At a certain point in the game, when your range carries have more damage, it's just impossible to team fight against them because they continue to kite them out. They have the defensive tools to be able to deal with Iceborne. Oh, hooks on.
Only onto Crash, pulls him back with the play, but Unified has the flank position here, and Kaiwing's going in with the quickness, and Slow is deleted, obliterated, just disappeared off the face of the map.
And that is now Buggax on the flank. They feel like they have to force.
Vanguard's Edge coming in, the Paranoia is going to chase in as well, kick away on Buggax, but Isurus may have found their fight, they find 3, and Hong Kong attitude overstepped, they overstayed. Kaiwing tries to jump away with the grand entrance, but Buggax is still on the chase. Isurus will look for mid. They'll try and take whatever they can off this advantage.
And that started so well for HKA. However, it was 3Z that didn't want to rotate towards the play. Ultimately, they now lose the team fight. None of the carries left alive, and Isurus Gaming need to be able to push in. Maybe even look to break the base here. Not going to go for it. Creep wave not big enough. So not going to be the death blow there for HKA, but shows that in mismatched numbers team fights, when they do get the flanks, they can still look to contest.
And that was kind of the perfect storm there for Isurus. They had numbers advantage, they had a great flank position, everyone had already burnt their cooldowns on the side of HKA.
And this is one of those times where they show on mid lane, so you feel comfortable to be able to face check. You know there can only be 2 people there, you can see 3 other people on the map. So look how aggressive Unified is willing to go on Ezreal. However, 3Z not rotating to this fight. You can see he's turned around, he's heading back to the top lane. Mate, the team's being engaged on, they still have the tools to be able to force if you are giving them free team fights. And this time around, it is going to be the perfect storm. Pinned against the wall, inability to kite out due to a very good Nocturne ultimate, coupled with Buggax's ultimate there on the Irelia as well. I mean, it happened once, could potentially happen again, but I feel like that's a lot of it on HKA's setup.
I totally agree with you there. 30 minutes in, HKA still in the driver's seat in this game, although the gold lead is in Isurus Gaming's favor. 4 dragons on HKA with another mountain coming up in 2.5 minutes. Could be a target for them. Their Baron power play is about to expire. They lost about 1,000 gold off that. Not a bet I would usually take, but HKA will have realized that they continue to scale well.
And I'm so surprised that they decided to play multiple lanes with this composition. Because when you have a look at it, Ezreal, as well as the Corki, if you have your front line there, should just be able to siege down and pressure what is a very low wave clear composition. So playing 2 lanes, I feel like in this situation, was very greedy and did present an opportunity for Isurus Gaming to be able to take that one shot back into the game. Now, they had to use a lot. You can see flashes down on Oddie, on Buggax, as well as on Warangelus. So there is going to be a time in this game where there are carries with mismatched flashes. You know, maybe 3Z or Crash can very much make them pay for that. But certainly removed the Baron buff, removed all of that siege threat. Now we just go back into this strange scaling situation.
So Oddie has ult. I think Isurus are trying to do something maybe they should have done a long time before. Paranoia comes out, flawless duet still going to land. 3Z with a Gnar into the wall, but he is feared up, and Isurus have managed to collapse in the bottom lane. 3Z though flashes away, and the quickness comes in. Crash kicks them back. Buggax going in with a Vanguard's Edge straight onto Crash, lands another flawless duet. Seiya off to the side. Buggax gets a double, and Isurus have found 2 kills in the bottom lane.
But look at the frustration, right? The carries are still alive, so they're looking to kite this one back. They will be able to get the picks that they're looking for. That was a very well orchestrated side lane gank here for Isurus Gaming. Their mid lane and their top lane were enough of a push out that it didn't cost them any of their base. But they're not able to flawlessly ace, not able to be able to pick up any of these major objectives. Baron not available, Dragon still not up for the taking. So it is just going to be slightly more pressure relieved and a little bit more gold into their back pockets, but ultimately not map state changing.
And I think you can see from the way they set up that play how important it is to take mid lane tower. We talked about how long it had been delayed for Isurus. You can see both Buggax and Oddie come from towards that mid lane tower. They've managed to get vision control around this. It makes it so much easier to gank 3Z.
Yeah, exactly right. And control of the mid lane allows you to attack side lanes. And you can see right now that 3Z, because he has gone towards that defensive armor item build, that if Akali isn't here, he's going to just survive for a very long time in these team fights. They are able to turn this one around, but this is the area that I want you to look at. You're diving into both an Ezreal and a Corki. You can see their kite back ability, and they have more options to go forward. So that was a perfect storm of, you get it when the carries both aren't there. You're able to 90% take out the tank, but you still can't close out that team fight.
Do you want to give some credit to Buggax? Up until that point in the game, I think he'd done about 9,000 damage to champions, and then he did 4,000 in that single fight. Low numbers across the board, haven't had that many all-out brawls, but now maybe we'll see another one as the Baron has already been started by HKA. It's down, it's gone.
Watch Kaiwing.
Isurus won't even be able to get there in time. Kaiwing now in the flank, gets onto Buggax, but a great flawless duet will get the stuns. The lantern there for him to get out the Gnar into the wall, and perhaps this is the fight that Isurus need. Jumping onto the backline with the paranoia. Everyone's in darkness, but Oddie's the one to go down, and so goes Xayah as well. Buggax with a 4-man stun, but all he can do is pop the GAs. He tries to jump around, he'll get onto Kaiwing. Buggax able to survive, and there's a lantern to get him out alive. 3 for 2 in favor of HKA. They got the Baron, they're pushing in.
Yeah, and once again, Buggax shows that he is a very good Irelia, but these fights are just so hard to navigate. HKA, they still get the Baron, they still take down 3 members, and they might still look to end.
They could look to end this mission with the Trinity Force will be shredding through these towers in a heartbeat. HKA, Baron buffed up, looking for the end. Buggax now has GA, will try and keep himself alive in this fight. HKA, you're going to take it. You're going to take on Buggax. Hook doesn't connect. Buggax looking for the stun. Won't quite find it. The first Nexus Towers has gone down. There's the flawless duet. Dodges away from the wall up. The play back for the Gnar. And now Buggax has to regen, has to get out. HKA will retreat, knowing that Seiya's up into Warangelus on his way as well.
And how many times is this man going to hit multiple people stuns in clutch situations? You said there was a 4-man in that team fight. Another 2-man on that siege as well means that he will be able to repel. The race was always going to be very close, but 3 Barons still alive. Only 1 Nexus turret up and standing. This game becomes very hard now for Isurus Gaming to defend.
Only 3,000 gold behind, but it might as well be all the money in the game. Here comes the quickness from Kaiwing.
And again, that's a very good stun to start off the fight for Isurus Gaming. However, we mentioned the flash not going to be up and available on the AD carry. That means that no threat at the start of this from Warangelus. Now he will start getting some feathers down. It's very dangerous to run over this zone. That's where a lot of the damage did come from.
I think that may have been a 5-man stun.
Looked like it was going to be the case, and Buggax just continuing to get resets on the back end of this fight. The way he navigates them is actually very beautiful to watch.
It was incredible. It's like everyone had invested into getting Unified down, into jumping onto the backline. Seiya fell without being able to manage it. And I think the final bit of the flawless duet just caught Unified as he was jumping forward. You can see how swingy this game has been. Isurus trying to fight back, trying to wrench back control from HKA. Baron still, a minute left on it. And that's a lot of damage going down.
And now how do you wave clear? Because I don't think you can, so that means you have to go for a fight. Where are the wards? There is one on the left that should be pinged out now. Can they get Buggax in behind this team? Because if you don't go now, you're going to lose double inhibitor, and you only have one of those Nexus turrets up.
So 3Z doesn't have Mega. The inhibitor's still alive in this bottom lane for the moment, but the cannon just needs one more shot. That inhib will fall. Can't quite get it. Wave there in time. 3Z looking to build up that Mega bar. The inhibitor goes down, Hook only hits a minion, and Isurus will not fight for the bot lane.
Okay, so instead they're going to try and fight over what will most likely be a minute 30 Elder Dragon spawn. We already mentioned, 4 dragons built up. That is going to be a legitimate win condition now for HKA. With 2 of these inhibitors down, with teleport available on both Unified, on 3Z, one mistake around this Elder Dragon will just mean teleports into game ending. Very precarious situation right now.
It's on a knife's edge. Knife's edge here, Spawn. Isurus Gaming have shown us that through Buggax, they can win fights. They can find picks, but they've never been able to get much off the back of it. And now with 2 inhibitors down, it becomes a much more difficult affair. The super minion is going to push in. You can see how much that Corki and Ezreal can do. Seiya, after an exemplary performance in Game 2 on the Akali, has really struggled to find a mark in this matchup.
And Buggax is just, I just want to keep singing the praises of this guy. He is so good. He's playing a team with absolutely no frontline into double marksman. Does have some dive buddies with them, but they're bringing no CC. he is pretty much the entirety of the setup for 3 members to dive. And every single time we go into a fight, he is making it work against all odds. He's against the 2 most mobile carries in the game that have itemized very defensively. That's going to be more, as well as Phantom Dancers. Double GAs picked up as well, and he's still being able to have this impact. But the game continues, and scaling is not on his side. It just becomes more and more difficult as the game goes on.
Look at the poke already onto Buggax. His Sterex has been procced. He has a GA. There's one on Oddie as well, but Unified now has a Guardian Angel of his own. Mission's on its way off cooldown. Crash, one in his inventory, and it's so much harder for Isurus to do anything about this. It's playing with you again, Spawn. I'm afraid the Telestrator does not like you today, and the Elder Dragon for HKA secure it without a single contest. And 39 minutes in, they are looking to close this one out. Slow overextended mission. 2-shot boom, he's done. Slow will not survive, and now in a 4v5, we'll see if Isurus can hold on to their lives.
So you didn't fight over bottom inhibitor, you did not fight over the Elder Dragon, and now without your support, you're gonna have to fight 4v5. It is do or die time right now for Isurus Gaming. See whether they can get it done here. Flank is there and available for Oddie.
Wave has been cleared out. There's another super minion pushing in, mid and bottom. HKA, True Shot Barrage, not going to connect. They just want this tower. That's all their eyes are set on. Here comes the paranoia. Buggax slowed up towards the side. Vanguard's edge across 4. Jump onto the backline here by Oddie, but there's just not enough. There's not enough CC, but the damage now rains in for Isurus Gaming. They take 3 into their GAs. 3Z with the Gnar. 2 GAs are going to pop from Isurus, but the rest of HK are coming back alive. Warangelus takes down the Corki. Buggax still alive. Can he do it? Flawless duet dancing around. Buggax, the lantern's there. The hook connects. And it's Buggax! He can't quite do it! HKA take the team fight, and the Nexus will be short to follow.
It was so damn close, you could see in the 4v5. Isurus Gaming throw everything, including the kitchen sink in HKA, but they can't get it done, and that is going to be game number 3 going over to HKA.
They waited and they waited, but they found their scaling. HKA will go 2-1 up in this series.
What a scrappy game. Back and forth performances. You felt like the longer the game went, the easier it should have become for HKA. But in these team fights, the top laner of Isurus Gaming was having a field day and putting on a clinic. In the end, they do get to the finish line, but you feel like that's more of a stumble over than anything else.
But you take it if you're HKA, right? You're 1 game away from making it to World's Groups now, 2-1 up. And after Buggax has had a performance like that, it must be so disheartening for Isurus to go back into the backstage area and think, well, Buggax really popped off. How were we not able to win?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that that is going to be the case, but they would be easily able to identify the fact that they held him in the Gnar lane for way too long. That teleport to the top lane killed all momentum that they were able to generate throughout that mid game. So I think there are still windows that they identify. I think more impressively, that's maybe one of the best team fighting comps you can have. Rakan, double marksman, as well as a frontliner like Gnar, into a no-tank composition, and you're able to navigate team fights. Maybe just get a better team fight comp yourself and say, you know what, let's just throw caution to the wind and try and go at these guys 5v5.
I agree with you there. I think Isurus have options coming into the next draft, but of course it's do or die for them there. HKA will be looking for that final win, and scaling has worked out for them. Game 1 was very quick, very one-sided, but the scaling here and in groups has been their modus operandi.
Yeah, and I think that they would be really happy with how Mission has played Game 1 and 3. Obviously, Game 2 was a complete disaster. You write that one off due to the kill in lane. But otherwise, he has had very good control around Summoner's Rift, and his pressure has been incredibly high. So I think that, you know, as long as Mission continues to have that form of kind of performance, they'll be all right.
But HK are 1 win away from World's Group stage and step on stage for match point after this.